Hello everybody, I'm Mikko Österman and I'm here to tell you about development of a virtual reality conference application. The objective of this thesis was to find out existing platforms for a VR conference and to find out what it would require to develop a completely new VR conference platform entirely from scratch utilizing different game engines and to create a simple prototype. Uh, Actually, there were two prototypes created in this thesis. And last but not least was to test the prototype and analyze the results. So the motivation and background for this thesis is that the current pandemic has created a need for more immersive remote meetings, and also Microsoft and Facebook are looking really heavily into this and investing huge amounts of money in similar applications. And of course, one motivating factor was that the Turku University of Applied Sciences commissioned this thesis for me to see if they can use these kinds of platforms as a teaching environment and what it would require from them in regarding investing and workforce to actually create their own application. So at first we studied several platforms. Um, the most notable ones were AltSpace VR, that is from Microsoft, and it's probably the biggest and most widely used platform of these. It has a lot of features and it seems to be very stable, and it can host big events. It can have about 50 persons in the same room at the same time, and with some mirroring techniques they are able to create an event with hundreds of people in the same seeing the same show. Um, Another notable was Facebook's Horizon, but it's currently in its beta testing phase, and there is no, well, you can participate in the testing, but there is no information on when it will actually come out. Mozilla Hubs was an interesting one since it could be used from any device, even mobile, but it doesn't suit this kind of goal of hosting big events since the amount of users was restricted to maximum of 20 at a time in one room. Then there is a Finnish application called Glue, and Glue is probably, according to some experts, it's actually probably even better in regards of features when compared to AltSpace, but there is this big downside called money, uh, since every user that logs into Glue has to be registered into their service, and they are taking a monthly fee from every user. And if you're hosting a lecture with, let's say, 50 people, it would get pretty expensive for school pretty fast. And the last mentioned here is the VR chat, but it was generally kept as too, um, let's say it's too entertaining, or it's more like a place where to have fun and doing silly things instead of actual real conferences and such. So next up we tried to find requirements for creating these kinds of conferences inside AltSpace, Glue, Unity and Unreal. There were already some experience with creating these kind of spaces inside AltSpace, and the experts at TUAS already had hosted a couple of events in there, but there were some features missing that they really would like to have inside their own version, such as adding their own scripts and scriptable events inside the environment. Glue already was ruled out because of the pricing thing, but if there were to be negotiated some kind of more feasible fee, it would still be an option. When it came to Unity, I interviewed one of the lab engineers to us in order to find out what he thinks it would take to create this kind of application in Unity. And for Unreal, that was basically left for me to study. So I created two simple prototypes with some differences. One was made with Unity and the other with Unreal. And once I managed to complete both of them, they were tested by expert testers, and I analyzed the results. In Unity development, I used the previous project as a base. The previous project was created by one lab engineer, and it already had networking and VR mechanics in place. The base already used Photon Bolt for networking. It's a plugin since Unity doesn't have networking features on its own currently. And Steam VR plugin was used for VR functionality. In Unreal, things would have been pretty straightforward since VR functionality and networking are already inbuilt features in there, but some tests were made initially with those pre-built templates, but they were not really optimized for networking. And this VR expansion plugin made things very, way much easier than it would have been without it. The VR expansion is an open source plugin and it adds a lot of stuff in VR. So after these tests were done, a small group of expert testers were invited to test these applications. I gave them no external guidance during the tests in order to find out if they are actually able to use these applications on their own without any guidance. And also there were some different implementations on mechanics inside those applications in order to find out which works best. The text chat in Unity worked with the hardware keyboard, while in Unreal there was this virtual keyboard that you could use with the VR controllers. The voice chat or VoIP was activated inside Unreal by pressing A button, while in Unity the channel was always open. And the teleportation in Unreal worked with just touching softly the teleportation button, and in Unity you have to press it all the way down before you could teleport. So after the tests, it was clear that all the testers were not able to use the application without guidance. They had some difficulties finding different features and actually using them. And there were some differing opinions, but most of them agreed that teleportation and the voice chat worked better inside Unity. They were more used to teleporting by pressing the button instead of just touching it. And text chat and atmosphere were better inside Unreal version. They found typing with the hardware keyboard with a VR headset on extremely difficult, almost impossible. So in conclusion, it was found out that it is actually possible to create this kind of application with very limited features very quickly, but polishing and adding more features would take a lot of time. And also wider distribution of this kind of application would require dedicated servers to actually host the event and a dedicated backend developer in order to ensure that everything is safe when it comes to networking. So although the results were promising, I would recommend that before the prototypes were polished, the best solution to host these kind of events would still be to use Altspace VR. But if some different features were required that Altspace wouldn't be able to provide, it shouldn't take too long to actually polish and create some kind of version for wider use. All right, thank you for watching.